In Los Angeles, Eve is driving her children, Josh and Izzy, to school when suddenly an earthquake shakes the ground. The quake causes massive cracks in the road and a sinkhole forms, swallowing everything around it. Panicked, Eve's car gets stuck, forcing the family to flee on foot. In the chaos, Josh stops to help someone and ends up falling into the sinkhole. Seeing her son in danger, Eve tries to save him but also falls into the hole, followed by Izzy, who tries to rescue her mother but fails. Meanwhile, Eve's ex-husband Gavin, who has been struggling with strange visions since an accident 3 years ago, receives a call from Izzy about the sinkhole in LA. He rushes to the scene and reunites with his daughter, witnessing bizarre birds flying out of the sinkhole, mirroring his visions. Shortly after, Eve regains consciousness in a rural area, surprised by her surroundings and the presence of a mysterious green light in the sky. Then she notices a mysterious bloody handprint on a rock but finds that her phone has no signal. Ignoring the fact that she's dropped her wedding ring, Eve sets off to search for Josh. As she explores, she notices smoke in the distance and hurries towards it, only to find that all the people and items swallowed by the sinkhole have ended up in this strange place. After reuniting with Josh, Eve and the other survivors begin to introduce themselves. There, a man named Sam emphasizes the importance of gathering supplies, prompting everyone to search the area for necessities. During the search, a boy named Scott and Sam's daughter Riley find heroin in a car trunk. The kids get excited to see it and decide to try it. Meanwhile, Eve and Josh are suddenly confronted by an angry black wolf charging towards them. As Josh and Eve try to escape from the wolves, the survivors take refuge under or inside cars, except for one man who attempts to fight them off but is overpowered and taken away. After this, another wolf catches up to Josh and bites him, prompting Eve to grab a rock in defense. However, the wolf is shot and killed by a man named Ty. Following the attack, Sam reveals he's a doctor and Riley is a medical student. They take Josh to an abandoned bus to assess his injuries. Sam does his best to treat Josh's wound, but without antibiotics and proper tools, there's little he can do. Remembering seeing an ambulance fall through the hole, Eve suggests they team up to find it. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, Sophia from the Department of Homeland Security announces to the public that there are no plans to send a rescue team, only a military drone to survey the situation. During this, Gavin experiences his usual visions but sees Eve and Josh this time, realizing that what he's been seeing all these years is the place on the other side of the sinkhole. Sophia and Agent Markman supervise the drone operation from a government tent. However, as soon as the drone locates the green light, it loses signal. However, Sophia recalls a similar green light that appeared in the desert 3 years ago. Meanwhile, Gavin experiences a vision of the drones crashing into the sinkhole. He approaches Sophia and Markman to share his vision, telling them the name of the drone as evidence, but they remain skeptical. They do not believe a word said by Gavin and leave. After this, Gavin returns home and finds a picture of Eve and himself in front of the same rock from his visions. He thinks of something and decides to visit the location. As he reaches there, he starts digging and is shocked to discover Eve's wedding ring buried there. To prove his visions are real, he shows the ring to Izzy. At the same time, Sophia receives a report stating that the birds emerging from the sinkhole are supposed to be extinct, but the government refuses to authorize her plan for an exploratory mission. Later on, a doctor appears on TV claiming that the birds are prehistoric. Upon seeing this, Gavin visits the doctor to convince him to carbon date Eve's ring, unaware that 2 agents are tailing him. Meanwhile, in the sinkhole, Officer Marybeth discovers a flare gun and fires it, catching the attention of a mysterious old man named Silas who appears to have been living there for a very long time. As Eve and Sam traverse the forest, they encounter Ty on the brink of shooting himself with a gun. Eve eventually persuades him not to do it, and Ty joins them, recalling seeing the ambulance. By nightfall, they locate the ambulance, which fortunately contains an abundance of antibiotics. At that moment, Eve notices that the surrounding hills bear a striking resemblance to the outskirts of LA. She realizes that they are still in LA, but suddenly a saber-toothed tiger appears and begins chasing them. Despite initial failed attempts, Ty ultimately manages to kill the tiger with his gun. However, a second tiger emerges, prompting the trio to seek refuge under a hill. After waiting for the tiger to leave, they get out of the place only to be confronted by the tiger once more, resulting in Sam being knocked off the hill. After this, Ty and Eve continue running, leaving Sam behind, and just as the tiger is about to catch them, it falls into a hunting trap, indicating the presence of other people in the area. Then, they search for Sam and find him at the bottom of the hill with a back injury, forcing them to assist him in walking. Realizing he's slowing them down, Sam urges Eve to leave with the medicine to save Josh, who has also been deteriorating. Realizing the urgency, Eve decides to go ahead while Ty stays with Sam. Alone with Ty, Sam reveals he's aware Ty is ill and Ty admits to having cancer, explaining his previous suicide attempt. During this, they are interrupted by a noise and encounter a man named Lucas. Meanwhile, back at the camp, Officer Marybeth locates the car with the heroin and recognizes the license plate. She encounters sisters Veronica and Lily, whose father was killed by wolves. Veronica seeks to give him a proper burial, so Scott assists her in tracking the paw prints and bloodstains through the forest. During this, Scott intervenes to scare away a group of camels approaching a tar pit, saving them from danger. After searching through the forest, Veronica eventually finds her father's body surrounded by rocks forming a hand, indicating someone left him there. After burying the body, they return to camp where Veronica scolds Lily for talking with the other survivors, revealing Lily can speak but is forbidden to by Veronica. Shortly after, Eve arrives at camp and administers the medicine to Josh, stabilizing his condition. Meanwhile, Lucas and Ty also return with Sam, and it's revealed that Lucas is Marybeth's estranged son, though he wants nothing to do with her. Back in the present, Gavin is confronted by two agents who take him to Sophia and Markman, who have stolen Eve's ring. They confirm its origin from 10,000 BC, suggesting the sinkhole transports people to the past. Sophia explains that 3 years ago, a similar sinkhole emerged in the desert, coinciding with Gavin's piloting accident near the same area. After this, Sophia presents Gavin with a special airplane designed to enter the sinkhole, piloted by his best friend Levi. Using Gavin's visions to plan the flight, they have a private conversation where Gavin asks Levi to return Eve's ring to her. During this, it is also revealed that Levi and Eve were dating each other after her divorce from Gavin. Eve dreams of Izzy when she falls into the sinkhole and wakes up scared. She checks up on Josh and makes sure he is okay. Then she checks on Riley and Sam, but Riley gets mad at Eve for leaving her dad alone to die. After this, Eve decides to get food for everyone. As the survivors are debating over their supplies, a massive beast attacks the camp, devouring all their food before departing. Scott, who is an anthropologist, explains that this creature hasn't been seen since 10,000 BC, indicating they're in the past version of LA. After this, Eve emphasizes the need to hunt for more food. However, Lucas doubts their claims and leaves to search for an escape route. Marybeth follows him and discovers the hunting trap has been reset, indicating someone else is nearby. Meanwhile, Sam confides in Riley that he can't feel his legs, and she administers a spinal injection with Scott's heroin to numb the pain. With Josh's support, Riley successfully completes the procedure, and Sam's condition improves upon waking. Meanwhile, Eve and Ty venture into the forest to hunt rabbits but encounter a bear instead. They flee and seek refuge in a cave, inadvertently trapping themselves when the bear causes rocks to block the entrance. On the other hand, Lucas and Marybeth find them and join the exploration of the cave, discovering a small body of water. Ty finds an exit on the other side, leading the group through the cave. Inside, they encounter a deceased man with a gun, indicating he may have taken his life after arriving from the future like them. Finally, emerging from the cave, they discover an abundance of edible mushrooms. They bring the mushrooms back to camp, but Lucas realizes his heroin is missing. In the present, Levi takes off in the airplane, but when he reaches the green light, one of the engines of the plane catches fire and they lose contact, leading them to assume he's dead. This makes everyone lose hope in rescuing their loved ones from the sinkhole. Meanwhile, we see Levi survive the crash in the past with his parachute. Back at camp, the survivors witness the plane crashing in the distance and organize a search party. They encounter Levi, who uses his radar to locate the plane's signal across a lake. While crossing the lake, Riley is attacked by a large snake, prompting Levi to dive in and save her. They eventually locate the plane, but it's inoperable due to missing parts. After this, Levi gives Eve the ring and confirms Gavin's visions are real. Meanwhile, in the present, Gavin experiences visions of Levi with Eve and discovers a file in Markman's office containing information about previous events, indicating government concealment. Disappointed by the lack of rescue efforts, Gavin steals the file and seeks out Rebecca, who reveals she has a second plane to rescue the trapped scientists. In the camp, an argument between Lily and Veronica escalates when Veronica slaps Lily, causing her to flee into the forest. Lily stumbles upon a body and her screams alert the others. Ty, a psychiatrist, communicates with Lily, who reveals she saw an old man with a handprint on his back before Veronica intervenes. Unbeknownst to them, it was the same mysterious man we saw earlier named Silas, and he observes from afar. Meanwhile, the team encounters a village and splits up to explore. Eve and Levi enter a temple with a handprint, discovering a body inside another hand made of rocks. Levi discloses that his mission includes locating the missing scientists from 3 years ago and provides a photo to confirm that the discovered body belonged to one of them. After confiscating the man's radio, Eve notices the recently extinguished fire, indicating there is someone there and they need to leave. In another building, tension rises between Lucas and Scott, leading to an altercation with a villager who speaks English and captures Scott after knocking him down. Meanwhile, Josh and Riley stumble upon a secret door that leads them outside the village, but it closes behind them, trapping them outside as villagers spot them and chase them while shooting arrows. Seeking refuge, Levi and Eve find a house occupied by a group of children who help them hide. Isaiah, one of the children, initially lies to the villagers about their whereabouts and later agrees to show Levi and Eve a way out. Elsewhere, Scott and Lucas manage to escape their bindings using Lucas' lighter and flee. Meanwhile, Josh and Riley evade their pursuers by hiding among the rocks. Reuniting with the others, they orchestrate a distraction using a phone playing music to divert the guards' attention, allowing them to slip back inside the village. Isaiah guides them to a hole in the wall, but as soon as they reach near, they encounter Silas and his men. Fortunately, one of the tribe leaders named Para intervenes, enabling their escape. Returning to camp, they share their experiences. Ty notices Lily sitting alone and encourages her to open up. After this, Lily confesses that Veronica isn't her sister. It is revealed that she was kidnapped by Veronica and her father a year ago. When Veronica learns the truth, she flees. In the present time, Rebecca leads Gavin and Izzy to an archaeological site where they suspect the survivors' camp once stood. They base this hypothesis on a letter from Eve, who was writing it at that moment in the past. In the letter, Eve apologizes for doubting Gavin's visions and warns him that the green light, which transports people to the past, is beginning to close. This indicates that Gavin needs to fly into the sinkhole soon and save everyone before their last hope is extinguished. Episode 6. Meanwhile, in the past, Levi continues to attempt communication with the radio he found and is astonished when he receives a response from Diana, who is also stranded in the past. Diana's plane crashed like theirs, but she may have spare parts. Levi and Eve agree to search for her using a jeep that some survivors managed to repair. They reach the beach the next morning, where Diana initially reacts with hostility, holding them at gunpoint due to her trauma. However, she soon warms up to them and explains that she arrived with the group 3 years ago. They inspect her plane and are delighted to find that she has the necessary parts they need. Back with Gavin's group, they are discovered by Markman, who wants to halt their rescue mission. Meanwhile, the diggers at the site make a startling discovery underground. They discover Rebecca's plane with bodies inside, suggesting that Levi's mission may fail. After this, Gavin desires to fly in and warn them, but Markman arrests him. Shortly after, Sophia intervenes and secures their release. After getting released, Gavin seeks a means to send a message to the past. In the past, Lily realizes that Veronica has not returned and confides in Ty that she too was a victim of kidnapping, which has left her deeply traumatized. Ty resolves to leave the camp to search for Veronica and finds her by her fake father's grave. He explains that he only wants to help and that she's also a victim, so she won't go to jail. But as soon as he turns around, Veronica knocks him out with a stick. Meanwhile, Eve and the pilots return and announce they'll repair the plane. However, there isn't enough space for everyone, so they agree to draw names to ensure fairness. Josh is chosen, as is Lucas, who insists on retrieving his stash before leaving. He makes Scott accompany him to the location where he hid it. To their surprise, instead of finding the powder, they uncover a chest filled with gold from the American Civil War. Suddenly, something falls from the sky and lands nearby. The group rushes to investigate and discovers a military drone containing a video message from Gavin. In the message, Gavin warns them that their plane will crash but promises to rescue them soon with his own plane. Despite Gavin's warning, only Eve and Marybeth believe him. The others, desperate to return home, agree to proceed with the plan. Eve and Marybeth, desperate to save their sons, confront Levi and Diana at gunpoint to stop them from flying the plane. However, Diana's trauma is triggered by the confrontation, causing her to accidentally set fire to the plane's tank when she fires her gun. In self-defense, Marybeth shoots back, severely injuring Diana. The mothers and Levi rush Diana to the camp, but despite Sam's efforts, she succumbs to her injuries and dies. In the present time, Markman and his team discover the missing drone and head to Rebecca's location. However, Izzy and Sophia manage to distract them while Gavin and Rebecca take off on the plane. When they're on the verge of entering the sinkhole, Markman threatens to shoot down the plane with missiles. However, Rebecca refuses to give up without solving the mystery. She instructs Gavin to remember a specific date before she jumps out with a parachute. Gavin is reluctant to abandon the mission, but Izzy pleads with him over the phone, begging him not to die. Torn, Gavin decides to abort the mission. The survivors watch in despair as the green light disappears, extinguishing their hopes.